I'm so excited for today's guest. Katherine Amenta is the Director of Development at the Ronald McDonald House of Southern New Jersey. The nonprofit is a home away from home for pediatric patients and their families. Katherine utilizes her background as a journalist to fundraise, relationship build, and tell Ronald McDonald House of Southern New Jersey's story. She is a four-time Mid-Atlantic Regional Emmy Award winner and was most recently Pittsburgh's senior morning news anchor at the NBC affiliate from 2013 to about 2024. She covered some of the biggest stories that defined a generation, including the Tree of Life synagogue shooting, the Fern Hollow Bridge collapse, and the Franklin Regional High School stabbings. Before Pittsburgh, she was a morning news anchor in the nation's capital and main anchor in Salisbury, Maryland. Katherine graduated magna cum laude from Villanova University in 2004 and is thrilled to be back home in Southern New Jersey. She enjoys spending time with family and friends and getting to root for Philadelphia sports teams in person. Take a listen. Well, thank you so much for joining us. You know how I'm excited I am for this
Oh,
conversation.
I'm honored. Thank you for the invitation.
Yeah, absolutely. So I want to start though with you at the beginning. So hearing your journey, because you've been in many different fields, across many different fields, and I'm very curious what inspired you to get into this field, specifically, starting with media and then into the development side of things.
Huh. Okay. Well, how far back do you want to go? Do you want me to take you to high school? Because that's
Yes,
kind
I
of
would
where it
love to
started.
hear. Yes.
Okay. So senior year of high school in West Windsor, New Jersey, I joined the newspaper just for a senior class. I didn't think much of it. I was just like, oh, I'll write some articles. But I really enjoyed it. I really enjoyed doing those interviews, coming up with ideas for articles. And so I did it in college at Villanova, but I felt like I wasn't doing exactly what I wanted to do, being behind a computer and just typing up a story. So I started doing internships at television stations at NBC 10 in Philadelphia. I did some radio. And that's what I really fell in love with, the being on camera, being creative in stand-ups and doing fun things. And then when I became an anchor, to be able to do a morning show, which is where you can really have your personality and be fun and have fun with it. That's what I really fell in love with television was interacting with the viewers and helping them get up in the morning. So I started out at Comcast Sportsnet in Philadelphia behind the scenes. And I thought, you know what? Okay, I'm going to stay behind the scenes because I want to stay close to home. Um, while I'm in the end, I ended up on television. I feel like I'm a shy person. I kind of keep to myself. So I was like, well, television's not the right thing for a person like that. And so, but one day at Comcast Sportsnet, I was bringing scripts out to the anchor desk, and I was like, I want to be on the other side of this. It's just something clicked in me, and I'm like, I want to be on the other side. I want to be receiving the scripts. So I applied and got a job in Salisbury, Maryland. I always think those small markets are such an incredible thing because first of all, you get to make your mistakes. And it's always so interesting because you're not polished when you get that small station, and you always wonder well, what did somebody see in me to give me a chance to go on television? And I'm just so grateful for those news directors who say, yeah, I think this person could do this well someday. Not here, they'll learn here, but someday. And so after Salisbury, and that was the classic thing, somebody was sick, and so they're like, can you be the anchor tonight? And I did it, and I kind of never looked back. And then I went to Washington, D.C., where I was on the cable station there, News Channel 8, and then ended up in Pittsburgh for 11 wonderful years. And then 20 years later, after all that, I'm in a totally different profession now, Director of Development at the Ronald McDonald House of Southern New Jersey. So it's been quite the ride so far, and I feel like it's just starting all over again, and this whole new ride is beginning.
Mhm. I love that. I'm also a little bit curious too, because I feel like people might see them as very different professions, but there has to be some similarities in how you approach some of the development work.
Well, and I think that's the scary thing in television. We all talk at one point or another amongst ourselves that see, I'm always on the grammar that that we only know how to do one thing, and that's be on television. That's be a reporter. And when you get into this position of being forced to find something else, because I was laid off this summer or this spring, and I felt this relief when I was being laid off. And I was like, that's a weird feeling to have right now. Didn't expect that. And I'm like, well, this will fade. And it never faded. And I knew that that was the right time to get out of television. But the scary part was, well, what am I going to do? I've never done anything else. I don't know how to do anything else. But then you start having these coffees and then you start having these interviews where you realize, wait a minute, there is a lot of overlap. There's storytelling, there's building relationships, there's, in my position now as development director, convincing people not to go on camera, but convincing people to donate or to volunteer. So when you start to build that confidence that, hey, I know how to do other things, that's when a whole new world opens for you. And I know it's scary to make that leap when you have this stable job, you're comfortable, you're making good money. Why are you going to mess with this after 20 years? But then when you're forced to, then it's a whole different thing. Now, I advise people not to be forced into it, to make the leap. I don't recommend being laid off and then trying to figure out your next journey. But I'm so glad it happened. I know that's weird to say, but I'm so glad it happened.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And that kind of goes into something that I'm curious about, and I know a lot of young women are curious about in terms of breaking into these competitive fields, because whether it's media or nonprofit work or whatever industry, there's always this competitiveness, right? And this want and interest to move forward and get into that space. So you mentioned internships earlier. What other pieces of advice do you have for people that want to get into these new fields and experience things?
I think the overall message that I would have is you have to want to work for it, whatever it is, whatever you're doing. You really have to want to work for it. I've had a lot of interactions over my 20 years, but the one that really sticks out to me is several years back, somebody right out of college came to me and said, I want to do better at this job. I want to learn this. I want to understand that better. And then I want to move up. Great. That's what we all want to do. And so I said, well, you know what? Come in on your day off and maybe stay late or come in early and watch this person do what you're saying and learn from them and immerse yourself in it. That person never came up to me again to ask for advice because they don't want to hear that. They don't want to hear, I don't want to say everybody, but a lot of people don't want to hear you got to work for it. And that's how you do it. You do the internships. I stayed late. I came in early. I shadowed the editor. I shadowed the photographer, went out with the reporter. I say go watch Kobe Bryant talk about practice and see what he is saying about the mentality you have to take, the work that you have to put in, and then measure yourself up against that. And if you, whatever profession you're in, if you don't feel a connection to that, then maybe you have to reevaluate your approach, or maybe you're not in the right thing for you. And so you have to, and I think to succeed, you have to be in something you're interested in and you want to work towards. And you have to be willing to put in the work. I think that's the main thing these days. A lot of people that I have run into want the top job like 3 months out of college. And they didn't, not to mention that's not going to happen, but you're not even showing that you want it. You're not putting in that extra work. You're not working the holidays. You're not offering to come in on the weekends, but you still want that top job. So I think we have to have that mentality of hard work leads to success, not I want it, so therefore I am successful.
Absolutely. Especially when you're in that top job, it's all about the hard work. You have to do all those things and put in all that work.
Sure, absolutely. You need to, and it needs to be consistent. It can't be like, well, I'm here. No, now it gets even harder that you're here. Now you have to really turn it on because now you're at the top. So what are you going to do from there? So it's this constant effort of reinventing yourself and improving yourself. And that doesn't mean that every day of work is going to be incredible. You're going to have days where it doesn't go well, or it's frustrating, or you failed. And the key is to take the positives out of that. Okay, I failed at this today. But now I have learned what not to do. And then you get right back at it the next day. And I think in television, you really ran into that. You have to have a short-term memory of, yeah, I was just terrible on television. I don't want to go back up there. But you go back and you say, I didn't do this, and this correctly. And here's how I'm going to fix it. And then you get back up the next morning and you get up there and you fix it. And now you've learned from that. And I think that's also the key to being successful, understanding that you're going to fail and you have to improve.
Absolutely. Now, I'm so curious. So you mentioned earlier that you maybe were a little bit shy of a person.
Oh, yeah. My mom says, my mom said this summer, she goes, I don't know how you ended up on television.
Really,
I said,
that is
I
so
don't know either.
because one of the questions that young women had submitted is they're like, Catherine is so confident and resilient in her space, especially, on TV. How'd she get there? So I'm curious now that I know that you were shy. What strategies did you develop to help develop you become this confident person, at least, as you're talking with people and
Yeah,
doing your work, whether in media or development?
it's weird. I I feel like I am shy, but then I also love the interaction. It's a bizarre thing. And I think you have to I also think, how do I put this? I don't like to fail. I like to succeed. I want to get it. So if this is my, if you will, I don't want to say deficiency, but if this is my weakness of being shy, well then I'm gonna get right in there. And this thing makes me uncomfortable, well then I'm going to go do it. And I think you just build this up. Now, if I didn't want to do it, if I wasn't interested in television, if I wasn't interested now in development, I don't think I'd do it. But I want it. So you have to overcome that personality trait to get it done. And then that's how you build up the confidence of being able to do it, I think.
Absolutely.
I never
Absolutely.
thought of that before. That's interesting. Your help, this is therapy.
Yeah. What's so fascinating is I remember the first time that I had reached out to you. I was in high school and I had emailed you and you had responded back and I was, talking about, what advice you had and just general interests. And even then I was like, this person is a mentor, is a role model. So I want to sort of flip that for this and ask you about any mentors in your life and maybe how has that impacted your approach to mentoring others? Have you had anyone in your life that was really impactful in your career?
I would say a couple people. Sheila Allen Stevens. She was this fantastic features reporter at NBC 10 in Philly during my internship. She passed away, but I was just this college kid. She didn't need to give me the time of day, and she did. And she taught me and she helped me with stand-ups. And I just think she was my first real mentor professionally. And I'll never forget that. And I think she really gave me the tools to get my reel together, get my first job. So that's number one. Number two, professionally, I'm not kissing up, but my boss right now, Tracy, she didn't have to take a chance on me. She didn't have to say, well, here's this television person who's done this for 2 decades. Now she's going to come be the development director. She didn't have to do that. But I remember each and every conversation I had with her during the interview process. And even in those in those interviews, she was building my confidence just from the interactions we were having. And now that I'm here, she has really taken me under her wing. She has given me the freedom to ask questions, to grow, to make a mistake and learn from it. So professionally, I think those would be my two people. Personally, I think my dad. He's been in management. He's semi-retired now, but just he is so calming. And during the summer when I was looking for a job, like every once in a while I'd be like, Dad, need you to talk me down here for a second. I just got another job rejection. I need you here for a second. And he just has this way of making it all okay. And I think you really need to find that person in your life, whoever it is, husband, wife, cousin, whatever, parent, and find that person that when you're having your meltdown, that you can go and you feel better for that conversation. Not just feel better emotionally, but you gain something from the conversation to improve the situation. And that's what I really get out of my father's advice.
Oh, I love that. That's beautiful. That's beautiful. And you've been, a mentor and role model for so many people, and you will continue to be in this role.
Oh,
Um, I'm very curious now in terms of this work-life balance, and it's something I always love to ask especially women leaders, because there's so many demands both in your professional and personal life. And
Yeah,
a big thing on TikTok now is you see these people, whether they're in the nonprofit space or still in news, they're like have these long hours or they wake up really early and then they're like, when do I stop? Right. So I'm
right.
curious for you, how do you find this balance? Like, what does that look like for you? How do you maintain some of that well-being for yourself?
Well, for the first 20 years, I woke up at 1 a.m. and went to bed at 5 p.m. So I don't know if I'm the best person to give advice on that. I kind of was all in on work, and I am now too. But even just changing my hours to, if you will, normal hours, I
Mm,
feel like I have my life back. Like I was just talking to a producer who got out of the business, and she's like, Katherine, it's like our lives are just beginning.
yeah.
And it really is. Just having that time of normal people time has changed everything. But I think you really have to, it's funny. I texted my boss last night at like 5:45, work something. And she's like, put your phone down. It's like, and so I think I'm going to have to learn to do that a little bit better now because I've just always been in this work, 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 work
Mhm.
mode. And sometimes, I have to remind myself on the weekend, go see your cousins, go see your family, go see your parents because they're here now. Before, when I lived in Pittsburgh, DC, Salisbury, we had friends, but I didn't have family. So it was easy to be all in work. Now I have my family back. I have my core back. So I have to make time and room for that. And so I'm still trying to, maybe I need some advice more than give advice on how to do that.
Oh, that's beautiful. I love that. I want to take a moment to just dive into some of the work that you're doing now and how you're
Yes, thank
empowering
you.
the community. So could you talk a little bit about
Sure.
your current role and I'm excited to hear more about Ronald McDonald House in Southern New Jersey.
Or no, I appreciate that chance to talk about it. So we are basically a home away from home for pediatric patients and their families. Kind of our mentality is you take care of your child and we'll take care of the rest. It is, I tell people this a lot, but I'll say it here again. Being in television, I felt towards the end like all I do is go into work every day and tell people about the world's problems, and then I go home. Here, I feel like I'm working on solutions and helping these families. And it's so interesting. These families are coming in from all over the region, the country, the world, and different languages, different medical conditions. But there's something about their journey that is the same, and it brings them together. And to see these families be able to share a meal and come in. Everybody comes in at like 5 after their doctor's appointments for the day, and they all sit down and they have a meal together, or we have a game night for them, and just try to make this terrible situation that they're facing better. And, it's so wonderful to see families come in, their child in a wheelchair, and with the care that they've received over sometimes 2 years of being here, they walk out just like everybody else. And to see that that care wouldn't have been possible without the Ronald McDonald House is incredible. And something that we're really focusing on in the new year is to let people know that we're here in Southern New Jersey. We're in Camden, right in the heart of the city, right by Cooper Hospital. And the reason we're pointing that out is because Philadelphia is the original house. That it was founded in Philadelphia 50 years ago. We're celebrating 50 years actually this year. And so everybody says, "Oh, do you work at the Philly house?" And so, "No, I work in the South Jersey house." And we want people to know we're here because God forbid, if you ever need our services, we want you to know we're available. We have 25 rooms. We're looking to rebuild and do even more. But if you want to volunteer, if you want to donate, just we want to remind you that we are here in your backyard. And I really encourage wherever you live watching this, if you have a Ronald McDonald House in your area, think about donating, think about volunteering, because this place can't exist without the community. And it changes lives. And to be a part of that, I think is incredible. And to work right here in the house as opposed to being off site in some office building, I think that is so important to our mission because we're immersed in it. We see these families every day. And I can't stress enough that we are here. We are here to help. South Jersey, look me up, email me if you want to get involved. We are here because you are changing lives when you're involved in this place. So I encourage it.
Absolutely. And we'll make sure to include any and all links in bios and make
Thank
sure
you.
that people can get in touch with you about
Awesome.
this really important work.
Thank you.
My last question for you,
Yeah.
and it's one of my favorite questions, but sometimes it surprises some people because I think they've never, maybe had reflected in this way. As
Okay.
you know, chess is very important to me, and that's what a
Right.
lot of the work that we do here, talking about how people unleash their inner queen. So I'm curious for you, maybe what does unleashing your inner queen mean to you? And beyond that, how do you unleash your inner queen?
Oof. Well, let's see. I'm more of a checkers person because it's easier. I play with my niece. She cheats all the time. However, um, I would say I don't know if I would call it queen because then I think you have to also say king because I think this is just a human trait that
Yes.
you have to work hard. You have to
Mhm.
want it and you have to come out of your comfort zone. Like for me, it's as we were talking about earlier, maybe being a little bit of an introvert, being shy and coming out of that and and achieving what you want to achieve and not letting your nerves or your what you might think of, oh, I don't know, did I do a good job? Did I look okay? Did I sound right? Just and doing the thing that you set out to achieve. And I think if you do that, then that would apply to your queen and king, just to come out of your comfort zone and accomplish that thing that you wanted to accomplish. I think that's all we can ask of ourselves. And sometimes we're going to fail, but that's all part of it. You fail, you learn from it, and you get back on and you do it again. King me, right?
Yeah, there you go. I love it. I love it. Oh, this is amazing. Thank you so much for taking the time to connect and having us, ask you these questions. And I know so many young people are just going to be so excited to hear this and your insight, but also all the work that you're doing now, Ronald McDonald House. It's just such important work. So we
And
want people
a
to
quick
get
shout
involved.
out to Pittsburgh. I just want to, I
Mhm.
just can't say I love being home, but I can't say enough about the city of Pittsburgh and the people and living there for 11 years. It was the honor of a lifetime. So
Um,
shout out to Pittsburgh.
Okay. Well, we miss you here. Absolutely. We really
Thank
do.
you. Thank you.
Um, and all the impact that you had on all of us. So thank you. And they are lucky to have you there.
Oh,
They really
thank you
are.
so much. I appreciate that.